Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 143 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast. This afternoon, we are at L'Espace Public here in Hochelaga, and we're doing something a little different, something we wish we didn't have to do. As you can tell by the title, we are celebrating the life of Christopher Needelman, who was the head brewer at Saint Blanc here in Montreal, who tragically passed away about 3 weeks ago, I want to say, in a car accident. So I'm here with Simon Livingston at L'Espace. You guys might remember him from episode 71 or 72. I don't know. And the reason we're doing it here is Simon kindly let us use his space because the beer that we are drinking, which is the On a Benry, which is the final beer, at least final collaborative beer that Chris did. Period.
As far as I know, it was the final
professional beer that he did.
Put in the fermenter.
And this was it was a collab with Chris and not Saint Blanc, so it's even more kind of like personal.
Correct.
And he was telling me about that too, actually, with the launch about a week after
the brew day.
Yeah, I think he was telling me about. No, the brew day was maybe he hadn't even had the brew day when we were talking.
Okay.
So I want to just lead with my story, how I found out. I actually never met Chris. I connected with him. I reached out to Saint Blanc. I think it was May 4th.
First, let's put one up for him.
Yeah, put one up. Cheers, man. And cheers. This is Chris's beer. We have Chris's beer on the table too. That'll be the whole time. This beer is. Before I even tell my story, do you want to tell about the beer?
Sure. Chris. So Chris won this homebrew comp last summer. Likely last summer.
So he was a professional brewer still entering homebrew contests because he was with the Montrealers, right?
So exactly. I mean, I imagine we'll hear lots of other stories today about Chris's implication in the scene. He was wholeheartedly put himself in the scene, including being recently elected president of the Montrealers, which is Montreal's largest, most professional homebrew club.
So he replaced Drew.
Correct.
Oh, nice.
I think so. Drew has also been the president, and I think is now, again, the interim president. I could be mistaken, but I think that's the case.
Gotcha.
You'll hear from Mike, the Secretariat, a little bit later, and I imagine he will clarify those points. I'm not a member.
Just so you know.
Anyways, he won this comp, and then the prize for winning the comp was either you got to brew at Saint Blanc, L'Espace Public, or Sutton Brewery.
Right.
So since he was already the head brewer at Saint Blanc, he's not going to collab with himself. And Chris,
how long are you guys going to be here?
If you have to jet off.
Well, it's because his partner, she's right now with someone else, and she may come here. It's going to take like 25 minutes.
We'll be here.
We'll be there.
Sure with that?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Okay, I'll let her.
That's better. All right, wicked. Thanks, man. That was Chris's dad. He's going to be having a chat today. Super kindly came down to talk to us.
And I think he was talking with Beth, Chris's partner.
Right. So she's going to come down too?
Seems like that.
Okay, cool. So he won the contest and he chose L'Espace because you guys had a relationship anyway, right?
He chose L'Espace because, we were already homies. But Chris is he definitely likes to do shit his own way.
Right.
So we actually got slapped on the wrist by the comp organizers because Chris was like, well, whatever, we'll just do a collab, bro. I guess the idea was to re-brew the beer that you won with, right?
Okay.
And Chris was like, fuck that. we're gonna do whatever we want. And I was like, oh, cool, man, whatever. Yeah. And then a little bit later on, the organizers found out that we were bucking the trend, what we were supposed to do, and they're like, yo, what do you guys do? And I was like, I don't know, man, talk to Chris.
Ratted on him.
Well,
savage.
I threw him under the bus for sure.
I'm sure he probably didn't care. He's the president.
I think that neither one of us really care.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I think that a passionate dude like him and we just wanted to make the best product we could make.
Right.
So Chris had been fucking with this double pitch of lacto and Kveik yeast because both of them ferment real hot.
Right.
Upwards of 40 degrees centigrade. So I was like, oh, yeah, sounds cool. So we'll test it out. And I've recently been into this Berliner rice thing. So you brew a low ABV sour beer with 50% rice adjunct.
Huh.
Which a thing I learned from Israel at Cheval Blanc. Credit where credit's due.
Respect.
I don't know where he learned it from or if he made it up
Jerome?
or whatever.
Oh, the brewer. What's the
Israel.
brewer? That's right.
Israel. Anyways, so we did that. We didn't really have any other plans other than that, and we said we're going to do this half rice. I think it was half Golden Promise or half Pills. I don't remember what the base model was. Mike has it written down. I also have it written down.
It's in there somewhere.
I'm not prepared for this interview. Anyways, and then like I said, I had like kind of forgotten to do a dry hop. So we didn't want to hop the wort to mess with the lacto. Anyways, then I hit up homie to like find some fruit. Like, okay, what could be interesting? And we had guava and mango were available at that time, and Chris just said, let's go both, double down.
Love it.
I said, sounds dope. So we transferred the beer, once it was done fermenting, onto the fruits. But like I said, I forgot to put in some hops. But
I mean, like, I don't even know what it would have brought to it. Probably just a bit more tropical vibe.
a little bit different tropical vibe, right? And like a little bit of bitterness and grassiness and whatever. But I think the beer is really cool like this.
Yeah, it's super easy, super light,
Delicious.
fruity, funky, tart.
So that was that. So we did the beer, and then the day before he died, and the day of he died, the day he died, we were like thinking about a name, and he like had these ideas, but a lot of the names he chose were in English. So I was like, most of the names we tend to choose for our beers are in French. So we like started playing around with what's a play on words for rice, riz en français. So he chose on a bien ri, which means we laughed, we had a good time, but literally.
Oh, Rees, like love, yeah.
But like it's a play on words.
Yeah,
it's not spelled exactly the same, but oh man, we laughed.
That's sick.
So like that's the name of homie's beer, and then he dies the same day. You know what I mean?
So crazy.
So it was like definitely some heartstrings biz. When we launched the beer the next week, Chris's family was here for the launch, and like the name of the beer is we had a time,
It's kind of like the most bittersweet shit of all time.
For real.
Like, it's actually crazy. I couldn't even imagine what it's like. We're just saying, like, and when you told me that the whole family was here on that day, on the launch, and like talking to everybody, and
They were
like,
amazing, and that's fun.
I couldn't imagine losing your child, and like, he's in his 30s, right? So it's not child, but you shouldn't be burying your kid.
Ideally not.
Ideally not,
No.
And for that level of strength to be able to come in here, talk to his friends and colleagues, and drink his beer, and just be like, hey man, like, I don't know, it's kind of, it just feels overwhelming. I don't know how they do it.
It's been really a celebration, like I'm saying, a celebration of Chris, of who he was, about his passions, and I'm really happy to have been a part of it.
Yeah, man. It's very cool. It was such a trip. So the day that when I emailed, I contacted Saint Blanc because I'm running out of Montreal Barista interview without getting a car. And they gave me Chris's email, reached out to him. We went back and forth, like I said, about a dozen times. He seemed super cool. Told me about the beer here. I was telling him about the Bière de Vacances stuff. Because his launch was the day after the show. It was the one that you were up at Kita Brew.
June 8th.
June 8th. So we were talking like that. I was like, cool. We set up a date. I think it was like June 5th, if I'm not mistaken, was the day he passed on the Thursday, and I was supposed to meet him on the Wednesday afterwards.
Correct.
So I didn't speak to him, I think it was May 22nd. So it was about 2 weeks-ish from the date that I was supposed to meet him. And I normally follow up the day before, because we like I did yesterday with you and Drew. Hey guys, we're good for 3 p.m.?
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, people come up, people forget. I forget shit. Like, just to check. And for some reason, I didn't do that. I interviewed Sean and Renaud at Avant-Garde 2 days beforehand. I checked with them, but I didn't check with Chris. Don't know why. Tiff and I rocked up. That day, it was like we walked, because we did the one at Little Italy, and we're in Milan, so we walked up, and it was like kind of spitting raining, and we were so busy and tired, and we're just complaining the whole way there. Then we rocked up, and we walk in, and we're like, oh, hey man, is it looking for Chris? And he kind of like looked at us weird, like, Chris, the brewer here for a podcast? He's like, oh, Chris isn't here anymore. And then he started to look like sort of sad and kind of like awkward. He was like, Chris had a car accident once and he died. I'm like, oh. And I was like, I had that, whole feeling like, we've been through that shit before when someone tells you, like my mom called me to say my dad died. It wasn't that bad, of course, but it was like, I don't know, it just kind of went numb. because I never rocked up somewhere to meet someone and be like, oh yeah, sorry, they passed. Like it was the craziest feeling. And even Tiff was impacted. She had nothing to do with it as well. And we just decided, we were like, well, okay, I felt bad because I probably made that dude sad by bringing it up again. 'Cause that's what happened if you're going through it. Every time someone else sees you who hasn't seen you since it happened, they want to talk about their feelings, and then it keeps bringing it up and refreshing, and you're trying to work through your own shit, and then someone else is all blabbing and sad, then it's like, it doesn't help the grieving process, I don't think. And so we kind of felt bad. We were like, you know what, let's just stay, drink a couple of these beers. He was like, yeah, these are all his recipes. Like, he brewed these batches. So had some food, had some of these beers, and kind of left. And I was like, it didn't feel right to me I didn't think of this straight away. But I was like, I don't know, it kind of felt weird to just replace the episode. And because I had luckily a bit of a gap in time, like it was a couple of weeks ago from that, and we were able to pull this together, and you so kindly let us use the space and got a couple of colleagues, you said? There's some colleagues in the chat and some family that we have here. I think some of these people are his colleagues, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's some Montrealers here, and there's his family's here.
Okay. Which is sort of like, because look, basically, even if it was just, I said, like, as long as this episode goes towards talking about him, I was like, I don't really mind what it is. I don't expect anyone to come and do it. It was more like if people wanted to, and I guess there's a bunch of people here who want to have a chat, which is super, super cool of them to go through. So, yeah, is there any other stories or anything you think that's kind of interesting from your side about Chris? Or like,
I mean, you know, me and Chris hung out.
Say about him?
I was always at beer stuff. We always had a good time, except for the first time we met. We definitely were like two passionate dudes who were like sizing each other up. Like,
What's up?
You know? But other than that, we fucking laughed. We always had a good time, and Chris was a super passionate dude, intelligent dude, who was driven, knew what he wanted, and went out there to get it. The only other thing I will say was, like, and I said it at his funeral, and you kind of felt this way, and I think you alluded to it just now. You guys walked up, it was raining, drizzling, not a nice day, and then it just puts it into perspective, you know?
Such perspective. And we were so much further removed.
YOLO or whatever,
yeah,
Carpe Diem.
Right.
I think what it said, they were handing out cards at his funeral, was like, live for today because tomorrow may never come. So that's real.
That is really real. It does not really get any realer than that. And I that's sometimes, you don't know if we need it as humans that are dealing with things in real life, and you get bogged down in the details, and you're like, fuck, this isn't working, and tired, I'm exhausted, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, like, we're breathing, we're here, we have a roof, we have food, like, shut up.
For real.
And I think that's our first world problem.
We got love.
And we got love. And that's the most important commodity.
No doubt, man, no doubt.
Like, I don't know, the way that I've seen the people in the beer community respond, even like I wrote that story on Facebook just to share it, not from like, people kept saying sorry to me. I was like, I thought I made it pretty clear. I'm like, I didn't meet the guys. Like, I had a dealing with, I was looking forward to, and it was just it impacted me so strongly. I wanted to just say it. And the pouring of people who had such nice things to say was like, yo, that's, I mean, isn't that the legacy you kind of want? Like, if you leave, and then of course, he lives on. I mean, isn't that the most beautiful shit in the world? That like, even if once his batches are done, his recipes live on.
The recipes live. We're gonna brew it again for sure. I mean, I definitely have the half a mind to put it in cans and do that.
That's
for
sick.
Chris next year or whatever. But
I love that.
Well, let's go. Let's get on to some more stories, man. I think his fam's here, his friends are here. Let's get everybody talking.
You mind grabbing the
not at all.
The parents? I'll keep people entertained in the meantime.
Right on,
Thank
baby.
you, Simon. You're a legend.
Cheers,
Appreciate
Chris.
you. Cheers, Chris. Cheers, brother. You're the man. Cheers, Chris. Yeah, guys. So yeah, it was. I'm not sure if it was Simon or Drew Stevens who we alluded to before. It was the older president of the Montrealers, and he also runs owns Kanawaki Brewing, who we interviewed last year. I think Simon and Drew probably told a bunch of people about this, and we just sort of wanted to give people just the floor essentially, and just be like, hey, let's just use this episode to honor the memory and tell some stories. Make it a good time, and so his parents have kindly. I sort of can't believe that they could even do that. Like I was saying, like it's so crazy to me that you're able to do that after you're going through something like this. So so much respect for them for even wanting to do that, and having a chat telling some stories from like a perspective that you probably wouldn't normally get. We've never had anything like this before in 140 odd episodes, and we've never dealt with anyone's family directly. So it's something different in every aspect of the word. So welcome, man. Take a seat. Sit
Here?
Yeah, jump in. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
What's your name again?
Paul.
Paul. Craig. Pleasure,
Craig.
man. This is Chris's beer for him there. Just, cheers.
Here you go.
And look, man, thank you so much for coming and having the chat.
No problem.
So you are Chris's father.
Yes.
How did was Chris always into beer? What was his
Chris was not originally into beer.
Okay.
He loved to party. I know that. That goes back to his college days. He went to John Abbott College out in the West Island.
Okay.
So he loved to party a lot. I didn't see anything as far as his interest in beer up until a few years ago when he finally exposed to me the fact that he had been brewing at home.
Right. Oh, so he didn't even
So once
bring
he
it
got
over.
his house, he sort of like said, that's it, I'm going to start, brewing away.
Right.
And then one time I was in the South. I was in the Caribbean. So we have a home there
Nice.
in Aruba. And he sends me an email. He says, Dad, can you help me out with a CV? Because he knew that I was good with framing these kind of things, and I would critique them so it would be the best possible thing.
Right.
So I said to him, okay, no problem. And at that time, he had also said, well, I'm interested in this brewery that's somewhere in Ontario.
Okay.
Specific, I don't remember exactly, could have been a town like Shaw or something like this. So I said, okay, and I looked it up, and I said, oh, kind of cool, but it's like out there in the countryside,
Right.
But a lot of these places now, as I
Yeah.
discovered, are out there in the countryside.
So many.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I helped him fix it up. I figured, okay, he's going to give it a shot. At that particular time, he was working at the Bank of Montreal, BMO.
Okay. So
And,
career switch.
That's it. So he was doing this finance thing, mortgage lending, whatever. So he was handling money. He knew how to handle that well. And it was just like a switch thing. And he says, I want to try for this. So then 3 weeks passed. And all of a sudden he says to me, I got a new job. I said, oh, that place out in Ontario. He says, no. Toi Brasseurs. I said, Toi Brasseurs? He says, yeah, it's a company from France, and they've set up an operation here, franchises, etc. And I decided I want to work in the restaurants and, be a brewer.
Right.
I said, all right. So naturally, as a parent, you're thinking about what about the finance, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You do have a house. And he didn't seem concerned about that, which is typical of my son. He just
Right.
said, I'll go ahead, I'll just get the experience, and that was it. So.
Right.
And I visited him at the location. He was essentially at their main operation was in Marseille Central.
I heard about that's the production facility there.
Yeah, that's
They don't have
production
a pub.
facility.
Right.
So he was there as the logistics.
Right.
But his number one thing, and this is where you get a little taste of Christopher here, he said when he signed his contract to be a logistics manager, he said, but I have to be able to be taught to brew
Right.
at that level also. So that was like a stipulation that he made. And I just laughed. I said,
Like-
really? I said, that was your stipulation, your contract? He says, yeah, I wanted them to make sure that I knew. And he picked it up very, very quickly as far as how their operation, and then tweaked things and changed things and made things more efficient.
Right.
So when I showed up one time at the Brasseurs location, which he was subbing in at that time and then became that particular location, the brewmaster.
Oh, South Shore. Yeah.
Because the gentleman that was there, I believe it was Jules, was there.
Okay.
Jules Dubuc was there, and he left, and Christopher took over the spot, and he sort of like made changes, and he explained to me everything, and that I saw the passion.
Right.
That's
That
when I
was-
first really saw somebody who was like, okay, this is a switch from doing the bank job where just talk about customers and
It's not the same, yeah.
Yeah, some were a pain in the ass, some weren't, but he always was nice to them,
Right.
And it wasn't his first job. His first job was in customer service with Nordia. But it was the idea was he was kept transitioning all the time for me. So when I saw him at the brewery, then I realized, okay, he really, really likes what he's doing.
Right.
Explaining everything. And he would do, the sign of anybody at their job is that if they're doing their job in a 9 to 5 type schedule, then they're ready to leave. He never was ready to leave. He would say to me, I'm going in on the weekend because I want to be on the floor and talk to the people and give them a little tour.
Right.
And, get them involved in what it is. You're basically creating loyalty, not only of the brand, but also, I like that location. I want to come to that place, and I'll tell my friends about it.
Right, because you want to talk to that friendly guy who takes you around.
That's
and
it.
makes
That's
you
it.
feel welcome. Yeah,
That's it.
Okay.
So he was doing that. He was doing little tours of customers and come up, and it really wasn't a requirement per se, but he wanted to do that.
Right.
He wanted to bring people in.
That's cool.
So yeah, that was cool. And more of the experimentation that you hear about, including at the location we're currently at Espace Public, is something that he was doing at home, that he was experimenting from the time that he started to work at Trois Brasseurs. And he said, there's this frozen raspberry like sorbet that they use, puree.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm trying that with beers and experimenting. And I see him with this big pot at the stove, set up and everything. And I'm helping with the hoses and all that. So I didn't get to brew often enough with him. But when I did, it was like, this guy is really winging it, but he's getting the product that he wants. So he could share with his friends at the time, So I thought that was, from a dad's point of view, we're obviously very proud of what he was doing, that he really hooked into doing something that he really liked.
That's sick.
And then he had the opportunity to work at Saint Houblon. And when he came into Saint Houblon, it was again through the friend connection that they recommended him, and he came in there, and his attitude towards the place at first was, I want to help them really succeed. Right. They had a couple locations going.
2 or 3, I think.
2 or 3, and they were planning to open up another one. So he likes the part of inclusion. He likes when somebody asks him about, what about this? Yeah. What it's related to the beer aspect. Like, how can we set these things up? And, it was the Côte Neige location specifically.
Oh, they have one there. Oh, another one.
Yeah.
That was the first one, I thought. Was that accurate?
No, that was a newer location from what I understand. Right. So it was downtown here in downtown Montreal. It was
Saint-Denis. Yeah.
So when he was there, he would describe to me, we're getting always things, third-hand conversation here, but he says, there it's like so difficult. There's a lot of health issues. It's an older building, all that kind of stuff. And he would explain to him things like, you need to drop. He had instinctually understanding, I need so much space for the taps to run upstairs, So we need to dig out this area and, save money here, save money there. So he's always for the business and for the company.
Right.
As long as you were listening. But he had a sixth sense, much like myself.
Right.
And when you're not listening, he gets tired. He had reached the glass ceiling type of thing. And I'd say he's also something I never realized in him. He's very protective of his staff.
Okay.
And that's how he was going into his, final few days working there.
Right.
Is that he was protective of staff, that he had to make them understand that we're making craft beer for the restaurant.
Right.
And we love to do it. We love to experiment. And he reassembled that entire plant that they have from point A to point B,
right,
and worked out all the logistics as far as cost is concerned, and computerized it. It was all on scraps of paper. Originally, everybody's working, on paper. He said that stunned me, that how a company can work like that, a little piece of paper that you can't even read the guy's writing. So he had that IT background also, besides finance, that he put that all into the business.
Right.
If I ask, and hopefully Beth shows up, his partner, and mother of his 2 kids, 2 loving grandchildren that I have, is that she told me in the past year he was barely home.
Yeah,
he was basically putting 120% into that place because he wanted to let them know this is something I really love to do, and the passion was there.
Yeah.
So that's how it was up until the unfortunate accident that he had.
That's that's a beautiful thing to hear, right? That as family you're able to see that sort of passion. A lot of people don't even get to live that passion. I'm sure he had aspirations of owning his own.
Well, that aspect does come into play in the past short while. Everything falls into its own little puzzle, which, by the way, he was a puzzle whiz.
Yeah.
He loved to put puzzles together, large puzzles. But this part of the puzzle is, for him, he comes running to me when he needs me. There's no BS with him. He was just straight and say, Dad, can you tell me about this? What do you think about that? With his mom has a business background.
Right.
She ran a casino for 10 years
Oh, right.
in the Caribbean. She was originally trained by Casino de Montréal here, as a directeur adjoint, assistant director in cash. So she understood money a lot. So he would just I need my mom's advice, and he wanted a business plan from her and a formulation of what I could do to start my own. He says, I figure in about the next 2 or 3 months.
Oh, really? So he was,
He
getting
was
closer
ready to go.
to actually get him moving and get the financing.
Getting to
and
moving.
Stuff? Did he have a plan?
He was going to be getting that plan together. It was during the past couple weeks.
Wow, so it was
So that part is there. I mean, I'm grabbing information from different people.
Of course, right, yeah.
And I also was talking to one of his friends. I believe it was Mike Brown, as a matter of fact, who's behind it.
Yep.
And as part of the Montrealers, I believe he's the treasurer. And he said to me just 24 hours ago, he said, oh yeah, by the way, I had hooked him up with my real estate agent. So they were looking around for places already. He had seen a few places, just preliminary to look.
Right.
So the moment that he was leaving Saint Blanc, he was already involved not only in thinking about creating his own place, he had already multiple offers from different people, not just talk.
Right.
Like Chris, which I don't like to call him, I like to call him Christopher, but in this particular instance, they say, Chris, I need you. Right. Can you come help me, because we're going to be opening or expanding our brewery into a bigger location, and I need your expertise. And so Christopher, of course, always, again, looking out for the next guy, said to him, what about your own brewer? So the guy, they just made me laugh. The way he said, the guy's reaction was, like he wasn't up to the par that I need for somebody to open and expand my brewery. And the other solid opportunity that I was there within 48 hours, basically, of saying bye-bye to Saint Blanc was a gentleman had said to me, can you come do some IT work for me? And he said, you know what? I'd rather get equipment from you as pay than anything else.
Okay.
I want to set up a whole system in my garage area and do testing for different recipes, because I don't want to fall flat.
Yeah,
I want to be able to come to market with product that's good, such as the one I'm drinking right now.
Yes, which is the on our Benry, rice, Berliner rice with mango and guava. Do you enjoy this style?
I do.
I do. That you're into?
Yeah, and believe it or not, with his mom, who is not much of a beer drinker, she actually loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just actually saying, just while Simon was going to grab you, it's kind of almost tastes, because it hasn't been hopped, it kind of almost tastes like a fizzy juice or like a kombucha more than like the average sour beer.
That's
something completely different.
So they thought of it on the fly, they created it, and the name came to them just like that.
Sick, yeah. Simon just explained what it meant. Yeah. Unfortunately, my French is terrible. Yeah. But they said that really summarized who Chris was, and that, all they do is laugh together anyway, and that's, what the name means. It's a beautiful kind of bittersweet thing, but at least, does it give you comfort that he lives on through this? You can come to a place and you can sit there and you can just watch strangers drink your son's beer and they don't even know it. I mean, I know it's small comfort, but is that something that...
It is something. Again, it's the puzzle idea. It's a piece of the puzzle. It gets me to know that Christopher, he created a product that's viable on the market, that people enjoy it, that he was looking to create other similar beers through experimentation. He was never afraid. Basically comfortable in his own skin to do anything. And for some people it would maybe get them upset at times, like he was just so, I want to do it my way type of thing.
Right.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it does give me comfort to know that there is a product on the market that he was involved in, and that people will drink it and say, "Oh, that's different. That's unusual."
Right.
And
I guess all on top of this beer, all of the Saint Blanc beers, when we arrived to meet him and found out, we stayed to drink the beer, and the gentleman who was there was like, they're all his recipes. He brewed all these beers. I'm like, well, yeah, of course, and that was fantastic. And there was like 24 or something like that.
Yes.
So I mean, that's even deeper. That they're all, I don't know how many of them are his recipes. I would assume that a significant portion, or at the very least, he's tweaked every single one of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's it's just an interesting. My girlfriend and I were, like I said, we didn't meet Chris. I only corresponded via email, but it affected us in a way I hadn't experienced before. Just because you never expect to turn up somewhere to meet someone and then be told that. And we were just sort of thinking like it is a beautiful thing that this kind of lives on, because not everyone gets that as well. Not only do people not get to live their passions, but they don't always leave something behind that's consumable and that is repeatable, that even if his hands didn't make that batch, his thinking and thought process is there, so therefore it just continues. It's a strange
I mean, this character, I mean, I heard some stories about some people wanted to know about brewing, and he said, you know what, I don't want to disturb my brewing schedule, but we can meet at the brewery. I mean, he was controlling the brewery at the time. As long as he produced product for the company, there was no problem. He says, we'll bring the appropriate items to brew, and he brewed at 3 a.m. in the morning with these people. Jeez. That he went out of his way to say, I don't want anything. I'm teaching you how to brew, and it affected them so much. I mean, now as I think of it, obviously you see the tears in my eyes. But it affected them so much, he went out of his way to say, hey, you guys want to learn? I'm willing to teach you. So it had quite an impact on those people. And that's what I'm discovering. It had an impact on a lot of people.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel proud, obviously. My son didn't reach his potential. He's supposed to have the business for the next, 25 years, that I can see it, and then longer, of course. But I won't be able to see that. But that was the potential that I saw, that he was going to make a real solid mark in this industry. And not in a way that people would get upset about it. They'd say, I want to be like him.
Right.
He's really good. Let's go to his place.
Right.
That kind of thing. That I won't get to experience, which is unfortunate. That's what upsets us probably as far as that's concerned.
That lack of potential. I mean, as well, no parent should ever have to go through what you guys are going through.
Well, this is it. So we're trying to balance it out and explain it to ourselves. How does these things happen? But there's no explanation for that. I mean... The other aspect is, people know him just as a craft brewer in a lot of this industry. That's what you guys are about. But, he grew up in an environment that we tried to create for him to, look beyond his horizons. And that's why he's able to do these things in such a comfort zone. Obviously, as an Anglified person, we speak English, but he picked up French very, very quickly. It's like a second nature, so there's no insult on anybody's side to comfortably go back and forth in French and English.
I love that.
But he also has a background of Greek. Nice. So he went to Greek school for many years here. He also had this stint in Greece as a young kid. So we did a couple of years there. So he has, linguistic abilities that he had, and he was always, looking at things on that nature that, okay, I understand another language that he can relate to people, that disarms people, It's the same thing as talking about IT as another language. He really understood all that kind of stuff that people fumble around with. Building computers for both himself and his brother became second nature to put things together the way they wanted to do it. So don't even ask him about Best Buy and long ago Future Shop.
Not happening.
No, not happening.
Like, no,
they just outgrew that stuff.
Right.
So all that stuff comes to play when it comes to the beer industry. Is the languages, the gaming that went on. Yes, the atmosphere of socialization, parties, and whatever, and just being himself.
Right. Like, I guess testing and like trying new things and like failing, trying again, failing, trying
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah, I could read him, not like a book, but I could read him to say, okay, he's going to go through with that. And when he did, and this is what I'm getting not only from his partner Beth, is that from other people, is that when he wanted something and did something, he would learn it completely.
Right.
So that it became not the expert, but be able to talk to someone and understand how it works, how to build a deck, how to make this, how to make that. He would, shift gears. Yeah. So that was his challenge to me, because I'm used to doing those kind of things. So he wanted to, I guess, make me proud that he knew what he was doing. And I said, you've succeeded. There's no issues with that. You don't have to be perfect. And that's part of what it is. It doesn't have to be a perfect beer.
No.
It can be like this, and if everybody's enjoying it,
that's whatever.
That's the cool thing.
I've never met a brewer who's happy with their beer. They're always like, but the next one I'm going to do this, like every single time.
Tweak.
I don't recall out of all these episodes I've ever heard anyone say, this is perfect. I love it.
He did a lot of traveling, especially in the Northeast.
Okay.
And where he wanted to go, it was MapQuest. Yes, we're going to go to a location, but we're also going to find brewers.
Right.
So he would always go in a brewery. And even his mom, down in Aruba, we we asked him, come on down. He would always say, oh, I'm busy, I have to this, that. He'd get time off. He came down, he says, okay, where's the brewery, And he did make a connection with a brewer down there who had just opened on the island, wanted to help him out with brewing and give him tips, and he spent a couple days with him, helping him out. And we saw his place of operations near a Holiday Inn that he was doing. We did Super Bowl at a place called Craft Beer, which to me was mostly just ordering. I mean, he tried the beers from the west of America.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, this is an interesting IPA. And that I had tried them already. I had been in the west quite often. So it was interesting to see his look on his face. Something I had tried, but he hadn't.
Yeah.
So he was trying all those kind of brews. So he liked experimentation in that sense. Always getting around and communicating with everyone.
Right.
In the point that, he wouldn't just want to go to a place, drink and leave. He wanted to get to know the guy who was behind it.
Right.
And then that next layer was, let me show you your operation.
Right.
Just like looking at the one downstairs, knowing he was there, he looked at that operation and would tweak.
Right. Like analyze it, figure it out.
This
what
works.
That's what. Okay,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing it that way now. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Right.
So at that level, I mean, to me, for me now, I'm going to look back on things as it was the tip of the iceberg. His knowledge base was beyond what I would ever understand at this point. As his dad, knowing about beer and knowing about certain things, he definitely he was up there.
Right.
And when I talked to his friends, and Mike and Tara, or one of his close friends, is that they're saying, oh my God, he really knew his thing. And I said, you guys are talking in a language I don't understand.
It gets pretty nerdy.
Yeah, but he knew. He knew by taste.
Stuff.
He knew by all these kind of things that it was impressive for me. So
it's amazing.
It's a very unhappy situation for me that I wanted to see both my sons succeed. One of them is not here. He's doing a tour in Iraq right now.
I heard,
Yeah, he had to come back, and now he left again. He's now back there for a few days.
Right.
But he's in Baghdad. Yeah, they're doing duties there as an officer.
How did he cope being away and then hearing that sort of news?
Unfortunately, I had to tell him, just like I had to tell his mom long distance, by telling him, are you sitting down? And then telling him this is what has happened. Something we never expected.
Yeah.
And then he had to make release travel arrangements. They give what's called like an emergency leave.
Right. So something happens. They just like,
something happens. So he managed to get a flight and flew straight from there to here, so he could say goodbye to his brother.
Right.
And now he has to deal with that through talking with other people or with Padre, apparently, that they have there, to try and work through any feelings that he has. He's a tough guy. He's a tough kid. He's just as smart like his brother. So, he has a critical thinking way about things. He's gone through university as a master's degree, and so as an officer, he's also in charge of people, so he can't look, weak or whatever. So he takes care of a team down there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
It's basically, if I were to describe it to you, he's like Secret Service. That they basically, the way you would think in a movie, Secret Service, where you have to set up. Well, he coordinates with a few teams that they get the diplomats from point A to point B, and from point B back to point A, type of thing, in a safe zone. Yeah, serious stuff. So they'll be doing that for the next 6 months, with a break in between. But
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's sort of like, is it better to get right back into it, or is it better to maybe be here and kind of like chill? It's kind of like
Well, he spent 2 weeks. He spent 2 weeks recovering. I asked him, "You feel okay to return?" The army is good in that sense. They want to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, of course.
And he says if he needs more time, he gets more time. But he didn't want to lose. He's similar to his brother. Once he gets online to do something, he wanted to do it. And he says, "I don't want to lose this deployment because I delayed too long." So he says, "I got to go back," and he did.
Okay.
It's a pitching long way there.
Yeah,
for
I can imagine.
You're like 17 hours on a plane till you get to point A, and then another 2 hours to actually
I'm from Australia, so like I had to do when it's extremely fun.
Yeah, you're living on the plane.
I had the same. My dad passed away, and my mom had to call me here to tell me, and then we had to go back there. A couple of years ago, it was the worst thing in the world, and like the being away. There's all the other things to regrets, like I should have been there, all that type of stuff. So I relate to his situation. It's but I also just say the strength that you guys have is just exceptional. Like I don't know if I could do it. Man, I got so much.
Well, I have my moments. Obviously, I have my moments. If I see something, look, I'll give you a quick personal moment here. I live up in Laval here, and I go and I've had a cabane, as they call it here, a shed. Americans call it, or Australians too, maybe. You call it shed.
Was it like
a place that you can put stuff that
in the
doesn't belong in the house, the lawnmower and the tools and all that kind of stuff. Well, I have a pretty big one in there, and for years, I've had his first bike sitting hooked up.
Like a pushback?
It's just a two-wheeled, what do they call it? Not a chopper bike.
Oh, mountain bike?
No, not mountain bike. It's just a small little simple bike for a kid. You know, two wheels, the whole thing. I can't think of the name exactly. There's a certain type of it. Anyways, I've had it hung up there. It's in black. It's cool looking. It needs some repair or whatever. And the idea was to plan to give it to his kid.
Right.
You know, he's old enough, probably around 5-6 years old or so. So you see that, and it just hits you right in the head.
Yeah, I guess that's
like, whoa, that's, you know, first it was just like the bike, and now it's like that bike represents something. Yeah. So those are the moments that I'll not be as maybe as conversational or stoic as I am now, and I've done that even through his funeral. That I was more getting to know who you are, and where you come from, how you know my son.
Because you're going to be having these conversations over and over and over, and hearing all these stories from everybody, which is probably a mix of like, oh, that's so cool, or like, that's like a little much right now. I assume.
Well, I look at it this way: as a parent, you only see so much of your child after the age of 18.
Sure.
They have their independence. They're going to do their thing, and you know, he's going to have a certain relationship with his parents. But then when you go on vacation, let's say, like we did with him to Smuggler's Notch and did the brewery tour, also had cider tour too, with one of his friend Jin, he's been around with, is also a Montrealer on the club. So I get to know him a little bit differently because of the way he interacts as far as from the beer side of things. How, you know, I can see that he was leading.
Right.
Others were following, and they love to follow in his wake.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. And you could see Jin was excited when he's around him. You could see the friends that are around him surrounded. When I'm watching videotape of different things where they're launching a beer or opening a beer that's been for a while, I see the focal point. He's not trying to make himself like that. He's not putting himself up. Right. It's just the whole focal point of the fun.
Energy surrounds him.
Yeah, the energy is there, whether it's in French or in English.
Right.
You know?
So he had that sort of charismatic kind of personality that people wanted to be around.
Drawing you in, the impact.
Warm, bubbly.
So how do I relate to that recently? Because I'm jumping around here.
That's okay.
Here he is. I'm in the funeral procession, the receiving line for my son, and I'm looking and I'm saying, holy, you know what? There is so many people here. I had no idea the impact that he had from a parent point of view on so many kids.
Isn't that the
so
craziest,
many friends?
like, it's not how you should find out, but like that is one really telling thing about someone. And you look around who's going to come to their funeral.
I was stunningly proud. Yeah. People from every job they ever did were coming forth to say he had an impact. And then I get another group from the same company coming through and saying, he helped me here, he changed my life, he did this, he did that. It had nothing to do with beer. And then there was the beer people, of course.
Which probably would have been numerous as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what it is.
It's a beautiful thing. If there's anything you want, how would you want people to remember Christopher? Like, from your perspective, if there's something that you could say that, like, how would you want him to be remembered?
How would I sum up my son? A few words.
I know it's a large ask.
Yeah, I know. As you're asking me, I'm searching to say, you know, this is someone that if you touch base with him in any way, he can impact you in your life, whether even if it's not in the beer industry, he had an effect or would have had an effect on you to maybe think about things in a different way.
Okay.
To do different things and not be afraid to jump, to leap. Because that's the new generation. I mean, obviously, I'm a 61-year-old guy. Recently, on May 30th, the last time I connected with my son. And
that was your birthday?
It was my birthday, yes. There you go. We have a connection right there. So on May 30th was the last time that I had a connection with him.
Is that the day that the accident happened as well?
Yes. So
that's...
I basically had a connection with him at about 2 something in the afternoon. He was he was doing work in the backyard, which relates to me because I do a lot of that stuff. She was telling me what he did with a dethatcher and cut some wood down that his friends later took, whatever. But he was cleaning up the backyard because he had some Montrealers coming over for a discussion, etc. So he could have a few brews and talk. And then there was supposed to be a party for his both his kids at the same time because they're very close in the age of their birthday parties. The next day on the 4th, actually, of June, was going to be a birthday parties.
Right.
So, same as this discussion, should have been him looking you in the eye, and you would have realized the kind of guy that he had grown to be in the industry, the knowledge base and everything. So, remembering him, remember him as a guy that really wanted to do really well in this industry. He was very proud of what he was doing. He loved absolutely to what he was doing, and it would have been great to see him impact others the way he did in the short time that he touched the brewing industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely the worse off for it. And sincere condolences, man. Like your strength is incredible. I appreciate you coming and talking. And I hope these words are like his friends who might not have got to speak to you and hear these stories. I hope this is sort of something that helps people maybe move through it on their own grief and stuff, and just spreading the word about who Christopher was in the industry. I appreciate you doing. There's nobody better to talk about it. So,
yeah.
Paul, so thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Genuine pleasure meeting you.
I appreciate it.
Did anyone else want to talk that you're aware of? Or
I can ask if my wife will try a few words and hold it together.
Yeah, if she's absolutely no pressure for anybody. I'm just going to keep this kind of rolling, and anyone wants to come through.
Very good. Okay, I'll ask them.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
That.
Cheers.
Helps. Everything helps.
My name is Craig. What is your name? Amanda?
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
What was your relationship with Christopher?
Christopher is my older cousin.
Older cousin?
Yeah.
Did you deal with him on the beer side at all, or is that kind of like a separate
Like a little bit, because I'm 20 years old, so when I was getting like a little bit older, when I was born towards like the drinking age, so around like 16, 17 is like around the same time that he started brewing beer. So like he'd always invite me and my sister over to try out the beer, and I love beer, honestly.
Nice.
So I'd be telling him like, oh,
It's
I went to house parties and had beer. He's like, oh, those suck, like I'll show you real beer, which is funny.
Probably the perfect person to have around.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're getting into beer. How, do you have any stories or anything that sort of could, if people are listening to this, I just heard his father, Paul, Chris's father, Paul, talk about sort of who he was and how he got his actual history in how he got into beer and stuff like that. Do you have any stories from because it's different, a father would have seen him in a different way than a cousin, because it's kind of more like a friend.
Yeah.
Even though, how old?
I'm 20.
You're 20, how old was Chris?
34.
34.
So I wasn't as close with him, but my sister was, and my sister's not here today. She's on vacation with my family right now, actually.
Right.
And
switching it out. Beautiful. That's Chris's beer.
Oh, love that.
Right, that's cool. So I guess you kind of would have got more closer to him, as you said, the last few years.
I didn't see him as often, but since my family were the only girls on my dad's side of the family, which is Christopher, it was all guys, and then me and my sisters were the only girls, so we really looked up to all of our guy cousins as our big brothers.
Right.
So I know Christopher was always a big brother figure to me, and I'm sure he was like that for my older sister as well.
Okay.
And I know she wanted me to say some things for her, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So she wrote me something.
Oh, she got that? Oh, that's sweet.
So she wanted me to say for him that she cherished the bond that they shared, and she will always carry him in her heart forever. And she's been going through a lot right now with this whole situation, and it actually
older?
happened. She
Your
was
older sister or younger?
Yeah, so she just turned 26 2 weeks ago. And it was a week after he passed away, so it was very hard on everyone, And but she was very close with him, and he was there for her a lot when she moved out, and he showed her he just showed her so many things, how to cook and how to advance in school, and he was always very positive and very supportive of everything. He always like had such a strong motive for like so many different things. Like you saw like he was very into so many different things, but whenever he was into one thing, he was very committed to it. You know, like he really stuck through it. But then if he got bored, he would like kind of give up and then like start something new. But like that was Christopher. He was very like everywhere. Like he loved everything. You know, it was very nice. He was a very he was a big bright light. Like you know, like he soaked up all the energy in the room when he walked in.
Right. That's what I keep hearing. I didn't actually get to meet him, but everyone keeps saying that he was sort of like that, not center of attention in it, but just charismatic and like that energy was drawing people in all the time.
He would draw people in, like especially with his smile and everything. It was just like you hear, like I hear his laugh all the time, and I'm like, wow, like it's a comforting feeling, you know.
Right.
It was like a type of person that you could just sit next to and like you'll feel better, you know. Like it was a good vibe, you know.
It makes it even worse, even harder to deal with when it was just such a positive person that everybody seemed to like. I guess you probably don't realize how loved you are until something like this happens. And like Paul was saying that you go look at the funeral and all these people, and like wow, like you don't realize what impact some people have.
Yeah, and I think that's what was so beautiful. Like my aunt was saying, and she was saying how she felt like she didn't see him much, and like as parents always say like, oh, my kids are always out, you know, but it's like, but they're affecting other people's lives, and that's exactly what Christopher did. He affected so many people's lives in such a positive way, and it's helped my aunt and uncle cope a lot more, like not 100%, but a lot more, to see that he's helped so many people and he's left such an impact. And that's exactly what Christopher did. Like he'd meet someone for 10 minutes and he'd leave an impact on their life, and he would show them like, and he would teach them so many new things, and he was just like that kind of person, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's kind of crazy. It is cool that at least I get to hear those kind of stories, though, even if it's secondhand, and at least it's sort of coming in. Probably, I'm sure for you too, because you're probably meeting all his in these recent few weeks. I know. Were you here for the launch for this beer?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so I heard like I was sort of surprised at first that it's so soon. But then the whole family are out here and just talking to everybody and being, I mean, I guess what are you going to do? Sit at home and wallow over? Or you could try and be positive and celebrate life versus, I mean, it's easier said than done.
It's easier said than done, exactly.
But you're here.
In a way, I find it so beautiful how, I know he's laughing because he literally brought us all together. You know, like you think your life is so busy, you don't have time for family, and things like this happen, you make time for it because you have to make time for it, you know. And like he brought us all together, and like I've gotten so much closer with my aunts and my uncles now, and like even my cousins because of this. And it's sad to say that this sort of situation has to happen, but at the same time it's like it's a blessing because like you realize like your family is like, that's your family, like those are your people, you know. And you cherish the people that are like with you now, and like that's what we have to do now, you know. It's a lesson, and I just you appreciate life so much more because you never know when it's gonna be taken away from you, you know.
100%. I guess sometimes you need that wake up call. We don't want it, but I guess we need it.
Yeah.
How would you like Chris to be remembered? Like if you were to say to people who haven't met him, or to maybe the people who are listening or watching who have, like what would you say?
He was an amazing person. He was just so amazing. Like he was so funny and so positive, like all the time, and it was always about like the beer and try this and try that. And he would like, I don't know if they told you, but he used to be obsessed with like meats and like bacon and stuff like that, and then he became vegan like all of a sudden. And like one day I went to his house and he was like, I'm making cheeseburgers, and like, oh, like I don't want cheese. He's like, it's not real cheese. And I was like, okay, no problem. Like he was just so like funny with these things. Like he was such a good person, you know. Like we need more people like Christopher in life, you know, people with so much motive and so charismatic, you know. It's a great person. Amazing, an amazing father, amazing son, cousin, friend. Like it was honestly a blessing to have him in my life and everyone's life. Everyone that's met him, we're so lucky to have met him, you know? And I wish you could have met him.
I know. I clearly, the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, I felt like I would have got along with him really well. Just it's like it sucks when this happens. It's more, you know, so young family as well, but just such like clearly a good guy that everybody wanted to be around. I'm sure at some point, even if it wasn't for that podcast, I would have connected with him wherever he was working on his own brewery. Paul was saying as well, and maybe he would have worked somewhere else in the meantime or whatever. But yeah, it really sounds like the world is definitely not better off without him in it. So I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you so much for coming in and talk
having
to
us,
us.
and thank you for doing all of this. It's very nice.
Genuine pleasure. I felt it only made sense. It felt weird to, like I said, even though I didn't meet him, it just didn't feel right to just reply and whatever. Just go to the next one. I don't know. It just didn't feel right, but I knew it was a little difficult logistically to organize, but I guess it worked out pretty well. To have all you guys, this is kind of
helps us coping. I feel like talking about it really helps, and like my uncle, like he really expresses himself about it, and it helps a lot. So
yeah.
Thank you for
so
that.
it's good. Oh, my pleasure. At least there'll be a nice piece of forever digital thing that sort of it is in one thing you can listen to that will have all these stories in one, and hopefully at least that's a small contribution to constellation. So thank you again.
Thank you again.
Such a
It was
pleasure.
really nice meeting you guys.
Likewise.
Thank
Whoever wants to come on, just send them on down.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Craig.
I'm Tara.
Tara, pleasure to meet you.
And Mike.
Mike, Craig, pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much for coming and having a chat. Would you guys be able to introduce yourselves and what how you knew Chris and all of that good stuff?
Oh, Tara and I were married, so that's how we know each other.
Fair.
But Chris, I met him from the beer club.
You're Montrealers?
Yeah.
We're both Montrealers.
Montrealers.
That's,
Oh,
how,
nice.
that's how we met him.
Okay.
And I didn't really know him until I saw a lot of communications on our mailing list about electric control panels for your home brewery.
Okay.
Having an electrical engineering background, I was like, oh, I can help out. So I organized a get-together at Benelux in Verdun and just started chatting electric control panels with a bunch of people, and Chris and I were really just clicked and got to know each other, and we really wanted to make a panel.
Right.
So for the next 6 months in my basement, we put that together,
Right.
one night at a time, and that's how we met and friendship developed. And in the last few months, he was at my place or our place.
Pretty much once a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Like usually be like either the Tuesday night or the Thursday, like, come over, we'll have a couple beers or more. And if there's something on the weekend, he'd be there. And even like a day like this, nice sunny day, hey, come over. Just, come swim, come whatever.
Right.
It was like a pretty much constant presence in our lives.
Right. So I guess it would have impacted you guys probably in a different way than the family, of course, but
Yeah.
being that...
Still quite a shock.
No, I can imagine.
He became a really good friend in a very relatively short period of time.
Right.
We had known him for just over 3 years, I guess.
Okay.
Like we've been talking to many of like the older friends from like CEGEP and stuff, and they've known him at length 15, 20 years or so, and we're going like, compared to you guys, we barely know him, but it was such a short but very intense friendship. Like, that's the person you go to like beer tours with. That's the person you go to Péché Day with. Oh, Vermont Brewers Fest. Yeah, here, let's go to Vermont Brewers Fest together. And Vermont Brewers Fest is like finished. We got a 4-hour session done. Yeah, let's go to this brewery, right? Oh, Saturday, let's go through the whole thing.
Saturday we hit 14 breweries in one day.
You're on for one?
So,
Yeah.
Well done. That's pretty solid. We just run in, have a...
and we drank everything on the
Oh yeah,
menu.
it was finishing complete list. Like there was no half-ass sort of thing. It's you go in and there's the tap list. We went through everything in the tap list.
We'd skip things we already tapped
Yeah.
and untapped.
That helps.
It helps.
14
Not really.
a day. No,
Yeah.
really, no.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're on Burlington mostly?
No, we went
Everywhere.
kind of middle.
We went down to
Middle-ish.
Stowe area,
Yeah,
up
so you did a-
up to
What's that area? Oh, Montpellier?
no, Stowe, so Alchemist.
Yeah.
So we
Ottawa,
went down to
Ottawa.
Frost. Like Frost was mid Saturday afternoon, and basically that was like the furthest point. So we worked our way back up.
So we went out,
Yeah.
came back to Burlington, finished in
drove?
Burlington.
Always.
Oh,
I
here's the
am the designated driver.
Yeah.
I'll have a couple sips here and there. Like I get to be picking and choosing,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's always a
She gets
driver.
paid in merch and cider.
Yeah.
So it was okay. You're okay with that?
Oh yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I've done it every year.
Used to it.
I still do.
Soldier. Okay,
Even-
so...
the only downside though of being a designated driver is the shenanigans that happen in the back and on the side, where you're sitting there driving, enjoying yourself, and there's a disembodied hand that's coming into your window.
Or a foot.
Okay, or a foot.
Perfect. Or something.
Or
Or
sort of limb.
someone, as you're sitting in the bar or the brewery and, you're having your water, someone goes to the bathroom, but in reality decides to go stick the brewery sticker in the windshield in your point of view. So you go to sit in the car and okay,
Okay.
get it off. Comes off. yeah, sticker residue stays behind.
It
So
certainly
that was
does.
the usual thanks for
For
driving us around.
Was that on Chris or was that?
That was definitely on Chris.
That was on Chris.
That was
Both of
Chris.
those were on Chris.
It's always Chris.
God damn it,
Chris was the instigator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So we.
and then this winter we went out to Péché Day.
Yes.
I did sail in Saint Jérôme. He's like,
Yes.
okay, let's
Yeah, we
go
were
for
there too.
brunch. Let's go for brunch.
Did you go there for brunch? Yeah, so
we
did
went there for brunch. Had a good brunch and
We
had a lot of.
We came home at
beer.
2:00 the next morning because that's
Okay,
clearly
yeah.
how long a brunch lasts.
Yeah. Right.
Because why would you
Go
not?
to brunch, go to grocery store, fill up your grocery cart full of Péché Day 4-packs.
Yeah. We did the self checkout because it was 4 limit per person, just so
Right.
the
So they
cashier
didn't do it.
wouldn't look at us and be like,
We
"Sorry."
may have
Guys,
run over.
We did go over.
And then
It just kept it
a
going.
bunch of breweries thereafter.
We started with Boreal, Noir et Blanc. I know at some point we went to Trois Lacs. We went to Bois Blanc. It just kept going.
Jeez, you guys are.
Finished the night at Kanawaki.
Yeah.
And that's where the sticker happened.
Yeah, that's what sticker happened.
That was beastie.
Yeah.
It was beastie. We were just planning what we'd be doing in Vermont
Yeah.
Right.
this year.
You are going to go to Vermont this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In honor or just to keep the tradition going?
Part that we go every year anyway, but the actual trip afterwards, which has been like the brewery tours, this year we had picked south. And he suggested one night, it's like, oh, well, if you're going to go south, like, well, Boston and stuff, and Trillium Treehouse is only a couple hours away. So it's going to be straight south and then zip
back.
out east, and we're still going to do that.
Stop
Nice.
at Hermit Thrush. We had to stop there because Chris would
Yeah.
not appreciate it otherwise. We printed out a picture of him, put it in
Yeah,
a frame,
just kind
and
of bring it with
stick it on
us.
the
Yeah.
bar, and
Leave him something.
Leave him
find
his
in front of
beer.
him.
That's what Simon said. He's been doing this every time he's at the breweries. He's having a pint for beer. And people like the staff didn't understand really. Like, oh, well, can I drink it? Like, no, I'll pour you a pint. This is Chris's pint. This goes here and it goes down the drain. And that's it. Like,
Yeah, that's all it is.
it's like I don't know why I never really heard of that concept before. It was something that's beautiful. Something about it is just super cool.
It's really touching. It's right there. He's there.
There's something similar in hard alcohol in barrels, what's usually called the angel share. When they're sitting and they're aging it,
Yeah, I've
it
heard
just
of that.
it's
Yeah, it
it, it's
disappears,
in the
right?
it evaporates into the air, and they call it the angel share. So I guess maybe it came from that, but for all I know, it could be a culture tradition somewhere that you get around a table and you set a place setting and stuff, or set a drink for someone.
Yeah, that is true. It's just something about it in the beer world. I think it could maybe if there's like always a place at a dinner table, it could probably weigh on your mind a little bit more. But there's something sort of like whimsical and kind of casual yet meaningful about the beer. that's
Chris
less-
would really like is if we could put some sort of valve in the bottom there so
Yeah.
it empty out slowly, and people would be like going, "What the hell? The beer is disappearing on its own."
That's not a bad idea. You could actually make something up.
Maybe.
Wherever you go, and just have it there. And just
Maybe.
yeah, I like that. Is there any stories you guys want to tell aside from Chris being a little a-hole and sticker in your
That-
windshield?
Honestly, the friendship with Chris, there was never any conflicts. It was a great friendship. We just worked well together and complimented each
There's
other.
a lot of discussion, a lot of like learning, a lot of debate, because like he's got like the whole engineering end of stuff. I've got like the biology end of things. So Chris
has
could
the
talk
weird-
to either of us, no problem.
Right,
Like yes, we talk and stuff, but it was nice to have like another person that understands both sides. So sometimes you could come up with an idea and it was like, oh, this makes sense, and there's like an outside opinion too.
Right.
Or sit there, figure out beer recipes, or having him bounce ideas off what he wanted to do at the brewery, and always things like that.
Or even silly stuff where we were making a Russian Imperial at our place at one point. And, yeah. He was over, and we're getting partway through, and we're looking, our OG's kind of a little low. It's like, okay, we're going to buff this up a bit with DME. It's supposed to be 8 pounds of DME. Well, lo and behold, 3 pounds of DME went in.
Right.
And, of course, there's alcohol involved in this.
Of course.
Naturally.
You can't brew beer and not be drunk.
So,
No.
this monstrous Russian Imperial that we still don't actually know the final OG of, because that wonderful little hydrometer? Well, it was past the shoulders on the hydrometer into the weight. So
Interesting.
we don't know.
It's not even a
Looked
little high.
just a bit high. So when the thing finally fermented out, we had him back over again when we were doing the bottling, because at least that was all. Everything else we normally keg. And he's always kind of pushing, like, he knows that I can't stand Brett. Like,
Right.
I have problems digesting Brett. I don't want it in my house brewing because, potential of infection. It's like, we don't have Brett. We should put Brett in this. So we bring up bottles. And he's going to, like, gently blow Like, you know,
No,
the arrow with
Trying to
bottles
affect
or stuff.
everything.
Like, hey, enough
They
is
do,
enough.
stop.
Here, do 3 bottles aside, fill them up. You can dose bread in these 3 bottles. It'll be fine. So we still now have 3 Russian Imperial bottles. It's actually a coffee Russian Imperial with bread from some small brewery somewhere in Belgium. I don't even remember the name of. And
We have a picture somewhere.
yeah, they're dosed at 6 drops, 10 drops, and 20 drops with the intention that we were going to open them for Christmas.
Right.
So they're sitting there, and we probably will still open them for Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll open
Do that.
one.
Yeah.
Chris would want us to open them all.
No.
But it's like,
You gotta let that age.
Yeah.
think it's-
That's probably good. One thing every year it keeps it kind of going.
I mean, we've brewed both like homebrew level at home, like often with him around. We've also brewed twice at Moët International. One of it was part of a Montrealers brew that we're supposed to film, but never really did. So we still actually have that beer on tap at home. It was a smoked amber, and he was trying to get like mesquite smoked malt for it.
Okay.
Couldn't get it, so we substituted it with something else. And I've got videos and stuff of him and Mike Singer tasting them all, going, "Oh, it's so smoky, it's so good." And then I think it was about a month later that we had a brew at Moon with Sylvain, and I was like, "Oh well, who would you invite?" Well, of course, we're going to invite Chris with us. So we did a quad, and that's still in fermentation.
Right.
So it's like we have like little
So a few little
it's bits of them
fermenting
everywhere.
memories and.
There's a yeah.
I was saying to Paulie's dad that like it's something like bittersweet like about it all, that it's like he lives on through this stuff, right? Like there's ones that he physically had a hand in, such as this one, and maybe add all the stuff currently at Saint One, like all the batches that he did, plus the home brews, but then the recipes that he created as people keep making them, that they live on, and it's like such a. There's only a very few things like art, I guess, on like beer like that, and music, movies, probably
They
like
keep on lasting.
they just keep going, that people can keep consuming, and it keeps that memory kind of going, and it's
I'll be brewing this beer sometime in the future. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I got the
a really good
recipes, so
yeah, no, it's
good beer.
fantastic.
it's a fantastic beer.
It's a great sort of last way to sort of. It's a nice one here because he was telling me about this one via email. He was super excited because it was like they.
super excited about
Yeah.
blending the Kvaik with the sour blend and having this beast ferment out in like 2 days.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's like the fact that like there's no hops in it makes it even sort of more interesting. It's kind of like a kombucha juice type of situation.
Still, we'll keep because it's sour.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. How would you guys, if you could sort of sum it up, how would you feel that Chris should be or could be remembered? Like, is there anything, like, for people who maybe didn't meet him, didn't know him, like, how would you sort of...
I'd say, like, most of all, just, like, charismatic, curious, and whatever he was doing, like, if you were around him, it was almost infectious.
Right.
Like, you would be sitting there, like, you know, thinking of something, and be like, oh, this is a great idea. What do you think of it? And you'd automatically just gravitate, go, yeah, even though we're not comfortable, we'll go with it because,
He seemed confident?
yeah.
Right.
He'd do the most to get you involved, push your limits, even though it's something that you don't like doing. He'd just
Right.
get you to do it anyways.
Right.
And you'd learn something along the way.
And he had no fear of anything at all.
Yeah.
He's about
Like-
sharing what he knew and helping other people out.
And of course, like with that comes the, you know, instead of, you know, don't throw yourself into it a little bit, just throw your whole everything into it, and people just come along.
Right. What will you guys take from what you learned from Chris? Like, what will you think you'll probably keep doing forever? That
No, I'm gonna keep brewing beer.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Keep brewing beer. I'll if life permits, open a brewery, put a nice little corner in it in his memory. To thank him
dope.
for all that he did for us to teach us about beer and whatnot.
Like at our place, he had such a presence in the house where it's like, you know, kind of like Sheldon, you have the spot on the couch, and, you know, the spot's there. And I know the first week after he passed, it was hard to be in the house because every time I turn around was something silly. Like it's like, oh, this is like the last batch we had. Oh, that's the
last
Play-Doh he gave us because he said he felt guilty that we kept feeding him every time he showed up. He's
Right.
like, here, bought you Play-Doh.
Okay.
You know, that sort of thing where it's just, I mean, I cried over an ice pack
Right.
that had gone between our houses for 2 weeks the summer before, just because, you know, you open the freezer and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's a little less of that now, but still it's
It's gonna take a while.
I'll take time.
you turn around, there's always something to remind you.
Yeah.
Like I'd even gone like, ruffling through our recycling bin in our bottle returns to find like the last bottles that we'd actually shared on the Sunday before.
Right.
Because he was over at our place for sausages and like watching us pick at the pool.
Right.
And sit around the campfire.
Yeah.
And just knock back good beer. No, not good beer. Great beer.
Really good.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I guess those things that right early on are painful, but as time goes on, those memories are actually, it's good that you might have fought through that and grabbed those things, because in 6 months' time you would have
Yeah, you'd end up
regretted
regretting
it.
Yeah.
Totally. So that just ends up being these nice keepsakes that you
Small memories. I
can
just,
look at and smile versus,
Yeah.
I mean, you still feel it, I guess, but
But like now they're kind of sitting there like he's had a photo of like 4 of us at one of our like bigger brews and it's there and it's a typical like selfie of
that's what he does.
all the time.
all the time.
I love it. We would have got along well. Guys, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I really
you, Fred.
appreciate you guys coming through. Cheers to Chris.
Cheers, Chris.
Chris.
Okay, so we're here with Beth. You're Chris's partner.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. I'm so sorry for everything. How you doing? How you holding up?
Okay. It's hard.
Hit or miss, as good as it can be.
Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to say, I guess, about... I mean, I guess you would have been through... How long were you guys together?
8.5 years.
8.5? Okay, so you would have been there whole through the discovery of beer phase,
Yes.
which is what Paul was telling me about.
Yeah.
How we got into it. How did you feel about the beer
Career
stuff?
change?
Career change, I guess, is it's a big thing, and
Yeah. Well, he started brewing beer from home soon after we started dating, within the first year, I'd say.
okay, so
And then, so that started. He did that for a few years
okay.
before he was working at a bank while he was doing that, and he was just,
Not happy.
soon after our first kid, he was just not happy at the
At all.
bank and just kind of miserable.
Yeah.
So he told me that he wanted to change his career to be a brewer.
Okay.
And it was quite the pay cut, but I supported it.
Soldier.
And
Okay.
and it took off from there.
Thank you, Sasha. Appreciate it. No, you're right. This is Chris's beer, by the way.
Okay.
That's what that's for.
I was wondering why you asked
Yes,
for another one. We had a full one.
Not last So then he got into, I mean, were you into beer at all?
No.
No?
I hated beer when I first started. And then sour beer became a thing, and then I started liking that. I liked ciders to begin with.
So kind of was a bit more of a easy
So then it's
sell.
sour kind of went into cider.
Right.
And yeah.
Did he win you over on the beer side eventually?
He didn't understand my taste though. He would
So he
be
was-
like, "You'd for sure like this one because you like ciders and sours," and I would taste it and I'd be like, "It's disgusting." And then he's like, "I don't understand you. I don't understand."
Because I guess he would have been like, he would have been able to bring stuff home. I thought, no, he's a home brewer anyway, so it's different.
He brewed a lot less from home when he started doing it professionally.
Okay.
He would still do it sometimes, but sometimes he would just take kegs for
Takes a
work and bring
program.
them.
Hey, that's the perks. The perks.
That's it.
Saves money, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you got to sort of see, like, I guess it would have been like his homebrew stuff all over the place, or was it? Yeah.
It's a lot everywhere. We have our food fridge next to our beer fridge that has 4 taps in it, and then our basement is just full
Full
of
of beer stuff.
kegs, and we have 2 other fridges down there full of beers still. But he was aging and stuff.
So I guess you sort of now, in context of everything, does it change? I know it's sort of maybe a weird question. Does it change the, like, are you more interested because now it's like a piece of him?
I don't know. Like, I don't want to be more interested. I feel
And that's fair.
weird.
Yeah, in beer in general, or
I don't know. It just feels weird to be drinking beer without him. Because I only ever drank it really with him.
right? It wasn't like something you ever did. That makes complete sense. Is it sort of less in a situation like this where it's a family thing and whatever?
Yeah.
It's a celebration of the life. Is that make it less?
It's a bit less strange, but like at home I would feel very weird drinking beer.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
You
I
know?
can imagine because there's all the associations with it. That's all it is. Like,
That's it.
yeah, no,
It's a
I know
huge part of
exactly.
his life, yeah.
Like, is there any stories that you might have had that from, because you would have, it's really interesting speaking to all you guys and meeting you all without having met Chris. I only found out when I was rocking up to meet him, and it's interesting to get these like completely different perspectives from his friends and fellow brewers, cousins, father, and Simon as well and stuff. So you would have a very unique perspective on him, like how he was as a person. And
yeah, well, it was funny because when he met people for the first time and he was describing his beer career, he would often be like, "Oh, I've been brewing beer for 10 years," and I'd be calculating, I'm like, "We haven't been together for 10 years, and you started brewing after we met." So I'd call him out on that, and he didn't like.
Yeah, like snitching on me.
I was very much snitching on him, but like I can't take lying, so
I respect that.
It was just funny how he has no concept of time, so he really probably believed that he did.
Oh right, he was. I know it's been 10 years.
No.
Okay.
No.
I kept hearing consistently about his sort of charismatic personality, super warm. Always was the drawing people.
Very much, yeah. He would always. If somebody liked talking, he would, especially if he had to find them interesting as well. So if you started talking to them about beer and they were into it, he would just talk to random people. I'd be waiting for him outside with the kids, waiting to leave somewhere, and I'd go back in to get him. He's talking to somebody
at the bar. You're like,
I'm waiting
dude,
for an hour, man. Like, come on.
So he's that sort of like just always happy to talk about something he's passionate about.
Definitely, yeah.
Would you say that beer was beer his largest passion, or was that other things?
It was. It grew to be his largest passion.
Okay. It wasn't initially, and kind of just.
Yeah, I mean, he put so much time into that, more than his other passions, but he was just, as soon as he found a passion, he was
all over it.
Yeah, he'd master it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was, was there any other things that you could describe about the way that sort of he was maybe as a partner or as a father as well? Was that different compared to sort of like other people had sort of just like a different perspective on
Yeah, well, he was, because we have a 3 and a 1-year-old.
Okay.
And like with the 1-year-old, he needed them to be more interactive, whereas like newborn babies aren't super interesting, to be honest. They're just there.
Yeah.
But as soon as like our older one who's here, he's 3, as soon as he started playing soccer and kicking the ball, Chris got like way more excited about being a parent and just getting excited about things that he could do with him. And he was this summer they were gonna do like a soccer course together because he was also into soccer. He played when he was younger, and just it had to be like it's sports that he liked too. So as long as he was interested too, he was cool to do it with him.
So as long as it added.
But as a family, we went to breweries together. Like he very much liked to. We used to visit breweries, and then I needed some family trips, so they often revolved around beer.
It kind of tends to be a theme with beer people. They always have to drag their partners to ridiculous places you'd never otherwise visit.
No, well, it's every vacation that we planned was like, okay, let me look up breweries around there. I'm like, okay, let's go to the city and go to every brewery that's around.
I know the feeling. My girlfriend's the same problem.
Yeah.
It's like a plague. We can't help it.
Yeah.
Did you mind in the end, or was it kind of like, did you feel that you took something from it?
I'm not used to it. I mean, I ended up, because he would try and find ones that had beer that I liked as well, at least. But he was very excited when I did start liking beer, so that was a bit of a game changer, I think, for him.
Right, just like, all right, cool, now we can go to more places.
Yeah, then it just, sometimes we didn't see some tourist destinations that I had wanted to see because we spent a bit more time on beer, but it's okay. Right. I'm more laid back. He likes to schedule his things. So.
That kind of worked out with the personalities and stuff. How are the kids dealing?
Well, the 1-year-old
would never.
The older one, Lex,
does he understand?
I explained it to him what happened, and he seems to like he doesn't really ask about him that often, but he has to see pictures every evening, so we go through pictures and because he just turned 3, so it's.
Do you think he understands? No.
Well, I explained that Daddy's broken and that he can't be fixed, so that's how it was like explained to him.
I thought about that.
I don't know how else because he understands broken things. So.
I never had thought about having to like not use the actual words. Like.
Yeah, well, neither of us. I mean, I feel like if you're religious, it's easy to be like, oh, they're in heaven, but neither of us are religious. We're both kind of atheists. So to turn to religion as like an excuse of how to explain something, I didn't want to do.
It goes against sort of what you were. I'm with you on that. Okay.
So
I guess like
that's what worked for. I think it worked. I don't know.
I
There's
guess
no guidebook.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Does it help? We're saying I feel like for some of the other guys, it's something about when you have something that lasts beyond you, a product that can be replicated. Then maybe yes, he made this batch, but the next one that they do is still his recipe, and everything is saying one. And then I'm sure he's made tweaks to the Brasseurs stuff, plus the home brews. And then Mike and Tara just tell me about the millions of things they've got going on at their place. that he had a hand in. Does that help, being that there's something that, from your perspective, because I think it's a question I've sort of asked everybody, but I feel like for you it's a little unique again. Like, does it, even though you don't really love it or care or whatever, is it kind of more like, hey man, like, I'm watching these guys out on the patio, look how many people have that beer right now. Like, does that do anything for you? Does that help?
It's kind of cool that people are drinking his beer, but I mean, he lives on in my kids for me more than anything, I think.
Right. So it's not like I know that it's for you, clearly there's more important things than goddamn beer, but it's more like, does it sort of give you some sort of like comfort? Or not even?
I haven't thought about it really that much. With that, I
Hasn't
mean,
even been a month, right?
no, for Sacred Blow, at least all the recipes I think are his. He's changed
That's what they
all of
told
them.
me, yeah.
12 Glass Up, not really, since I think they had more set recipes, so he couldn't really.
Oh, because there was the change.
Yeah, so he
that's
couldn't
true.
really express his
Creativity to it, yeah.
with it. So Sacred Blow is good for him for that, but
Yeah.
he definitely grew out of that place. And he's
Yeah.
ready to open his own.
Yeah, no, that's what Paul was saying, that he was like really working on the plan and stuff.
That's it.
How did you feel about him moving into that type of stuff? Was that sort of like, were you supportive? And,
I was very supportive. It was more the money that stressed me out. I was like, we don't have money for this,
yeah, 'cause it's
but
not cheap to
not.
build a place like that, yeah.
that's it. But I knew that he would do it. He could do it.
I'm sure he would have figured it out, so it wouldn't have affected the family and stuff,
No, I don't
right?
think I would have at all.
So would that have been something that you would have been involved in as a partner, or would you, like, maybe not in the beer side, but in some
Yeah.
other part of the business? Like, do you have any
Probably.
skill sets in that?
Well, I've worked as a waitress in the past, but I work in hotels now. But yeah, I have like customer service experience, so I probably would have been good at
Keep you on a good face.
Yeah.
Oh, like, you mean like, because usually like the owner, like even if it's one part, like usually the dude's the brewer these days, so like if he's that, like, I don't know, like I feel like you would just be like that person, like sort of like you got the warm sort of, like, you make someone feel welcome. Oh, come take a seat, what do you need? Like, get someone to get the stuff and just kind of put, I'm sure you would have had a nice
I
little
would have
role.
definitely, yeah.
in
If
doing
I
that.
needed to spend my time with that, I would have definitely done that. Yeah,
Would you have worked with him on building it and stuff, or would you sort of been his
think so.
project and you would have kept doing
Well, it
your
would
thing?
definitely all be like, he'd probably ask my input for ideas, but he had really like constructed the brewery at St. Hublo to be his liking, because he changed
Right.
everything in
Okay.
it, and so I would trust his opinion on doing that himself, since I don't have experience with that. He would understand.
Yeah, like do your thing, bro.
Yeah.
Would you have like in what do you call it, like interior design and stuff like that? Is that like anything you're interested in?
I like it. We're probably both. It's not either of our strong suits, I don't think. But we probably would have done something together. I would think.
It's kind of cool to work with the partner. If you like, he's got the passion is there, and like if it's something that supports you both, I think would save you, unless you love your career. But if you're just like, oh, whatever, we've got this thing we're building, like.
Well, especially if it took up a lot of his time, I'd want to kind of be there to actually spend time with him, because I feel like it would have taken over his life.
Taken, yeah.
So I'm like, to spend time with you, I should join you in this
Yeah, just
venture.
hang out there, because it's kind of cool for the kids to be around and see this thing as well, kind of coming up. So it's a huge loss. From what everyone's saying, it's he had a very, very strong impact on his friends, like colleagues and stuff like that. I mean, did it surprise you? Paul was saying that he was surprised at how many people showed up for the funeral.
I don't think it's surprising. Like, I knew
You
that.
kind of knew all of
yeah,
maybe because
we're-
your father's different from you. Were like, oh yeah, I know everyone loves him. Like,
Yeah, he
the man.
knows a lot of people, and just he's impacted a lot of people. And especially being a president of the beer club, where a lot of
There's
them.
like hundreds of members and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Okay, if there's anything that, how would you want people to remember him? Like, is there anything?
I don't know. He was just such a passionate person, and just, I don't know. He wouldn't let anything stop him from doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah,
You know?
that's all it is. Amazing. Beth, thank you so much for your time. It's so nice to meet you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry. You're super strong. Everyone is. You guys are all incredibly strong. Being here, it's been such a short amount of time, and you guys were here like a week or whatever afterwards.
Yeah.
At a launch, talking to the public. Like I couldn't even imagine.
You have to keep distracted.
Yeah, I guess you got to, right? You got to. I'm so sorry again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So I'm Craig. I'm sorry. What was your name?
Alexandra.
Alexandra. Pleasure to meet you. You're Christopher's mother.
Yes, I am.
You are indeed. Just had a chat with pretty much the family, so I feel like over this last little bit I got a very strong picture of who he was from all different angles. Do you have anything specific, like how you being his mother, you would have had a nice sort of a very unique perspective as well?
I can say in the last, I guess, since he moved out, which was in his 20s, that he enjoyed egging me on about everything.
Yeah.
I guess that's what boys do towards their moms.
I can see that.
They no longer have time for their moms because they're busy finding out who they are or what they want to do in life. But he always did it in this like, no, I'm not coming, Mom, and then show up at the door.
Right.
Or no, I don't have time for you, and then, walk in and give me a hug.
Right.
And I'd try and hold on to him, and he would say, okay, now you're embarrassing me. Okay, that's like a little bit too long
relax.
too long of a hug, Mom, okay? But I can say, like, since very young, he was always independent, creative as hell. I've known him, I guess, as long as his father, 34 years, so creative, passionate about anything he did, but also got bored very easily.
Okay.
So if he tried something and he found out it wasn't his thing or it wasn't what he wanted to do, he would just move on. And there was nothing you can say, you need to finish this, Christopher. You started it, finish it. No, because if he discovered that wasn't what would hold his interest, he would just move on.
Right.
And as a parent, that's not what you want, yet he was on his own path and really didn't care as long as he found what he was passionate about. Through this process, what we've discovered is I knew he loved beer, and he finally had found out what he wanted to do.
Right.
But hearing his friends talk about how involved he was something new to me.
Right.
And I'm so happy that he had finally found what he wanted to do, but very sad that he couldn't show us how great he would have been.
Did you get to let it? You okay?
He would have been great.
Yeah.
I know he would have.
I think he was great already.
He had vision. Some of the mixtures I'm hearing, some of the ideas he had, unbelievable. Like, he really found what he wanted to do, and he was happy.
Yeah.
And he was finally going to get there, that he was going to have his own place, and not having accomplished that, I just hope he's making beer somewhere else,
Yeah.
So that's the sad part. The sad part for me as a mother, that yes, we have so many memories to hang on to. We spent an awful lot of time with our kids, trips we took, amazing trips that we took with the whole family. As recent as him coming down with the family to Aruba, in this spring. But, to see his own personal accomplishments, I'm not going to be able to see that. And that's very sad.
It should never happen. It's not meant to be like this. Does it give you any? I asked everyone else. Does it give you any comfort? And I know it would be a small comfort that he lives on through the beer, through other people being able to. There's a whole bunch of people right now drinking something that he made.
I know.
Does that make you? I know it's like.
Give me some comfort, you mean?
Yeah. Is it just small and maybe insignificant? But
it's not insignificant because it's something he loved.
Right.
So it's definitely not insignificant. The fact that this is probably, and I'm being honest now, the first beer
you've had from him
that I've liked.
Oh, really?
I'm not joking, because I don't like IPAs, and he made a lot of IPAs, and he made a lot of dark beers, and he made with bourbon and all kinds of stuff. And I would take a sip. He says, "I know, Mom, you're a wine drinker, but try." So I would take a sip, and oh no, can't do it. It was always too bitter for me. The hops. I just couldn't do it. This one, when we came here, when they first invited us, and they said, this is made with rice, and try it. And I took a sip, and I said, "Oh my God, Christopher, finally!" And you won't even know that I actually like it. So I hope he does know. It's a beer that I've been able to drink and enjoy. So yeah.
Simon was saying that they're going to make it again.
Yeah.
And they're considering canning it as well next year.
I'm
as
glad
well,
that they
which would
have
be
the
cool.
recipe.
Yeah, right? I mean,
that is a big thing.
That's something, right?
I asked
Yeah.
today. I said,
Yeah.
do you have the recipe?
like that
You
they
know?
wrote that they hand wrote down. Oh yeah, they do handwrite stuff, I think.
They do have the recipe.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy about that because they can make it again.
Yes.
Because I said, well, if we want to hold an event, does somebody know how to make the exact same beer? And they said they do have the recipe.
Yeah, they do that. And Mike said he has it as well.
Yeah.
And he's going to make it at home.
Yeah.
So there'll be.
So I'm excited about
multiple
that
versions.
it will live on.
Live on. Does that? Yeah. That's what is kind of cool about something like when people make art like that, like music, movies, something like beer, whatever. That it's continues on. Even though his hands might not have made this one, well, they did. But
They
even
did.
though
This one, yes,
This
but-
one, yes, but the next one, no. But his sort of heart and soul went into
Yeah.
that, creating that beer, so that. I don't know. I think it's a small comfort. Like you said, you're right. It's not insignificant because it's his passion, but it's a small comfort for someone that doesn't make up for anything. But it's sort of like I don't know. I've lost people before.
I always look. He had 34 years to leave his mark. I guess that's how you put it. He has touched a lot of people. I know that just from the stories I heard from people I had never met, which 90% of the people that came
You never met
I
them.
had never met. So the stories that they shared, I know that he's touched, not about beer only, just in life. He had touched a lot of people. So you always say, okay, we go through life, you want people to remember you in a special way, or that you touch some people in special ways. What's his legacy?
Yeah.
You know, like he had such a short time to actually
to create that.
that, but yet he did.
Did.
Yet he did, you know, in a very short period of time. I'm very proud of him for that. Extremely
Very
proud.
cool. I mean, along with his family as well. He's got these, young kids who get deprived of a father. But I mean, I'm sure they'll look like him.
Well,
which
I'm
might really help
trying to hang on to every piece of information and put it in a box.
for them.
And when they're old enough, they could say, look, this is daddy.
Yeah.
Look, he was a member of this, or look what he did. So
That's
it
a
helps
good
me
idea.
to do
Yeah.
that. So I'm doing that for them, but they're too young now. So, I mean,
I was
eventually.
asking Beth how they're coping. She said the 1-year-old has no clue, and the 3-year-old doesn't, sort of gets it.
Not much.
But I guess they don't really have that concept yet.
No,
So it's
not
sort
yet.
of tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough age to
Really
be
tough
at.
age to. I mean, I'm sure give them a couple of years,
Yeah.
they'll probably start asking questions
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
But, and as well as it's been such a short time, it's only a few weeks, right? Like,
It's hard to believe it's only been
Yeah,
a few weeks. It's like
yeah.
it's happened
Probably
forever.
feels like forever, right?
Yeah.
Has it been for you guys like the last few weeks? Has it been like kind of?
We've
hectic,
spent
or-
a lot of time with Beth and the children,
Yes, yeah.
because especially the grandchildren is like our link, is part of him, right? I mean, the DNA's there, you know. So we try and hold on to them, try and hold on to a strong relationship with Beth
Yeah.
moving forward. He does have a brother
Yes, he's in.
who's in Iraq, so that's tough for us not having him here for support. But I didn't want to hold him back either. That's his career. That's
His
his.
thing.
That's his thing. So you got to let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have your moments, but I know that life will not be the same. It'll be
Never.
different. The new normal.
The new
will
normal.
be.
That's what it is. The new
The
normal.
new normal will be completely different. Like I said, for friends, I've lost friends. I've lost a sister to cancer. I've lost parents, and it's different.
This
I
hit
mean-
harder.
Eh?
Does this hit harder?
This is
Like
a thousand times harder because it's your child. I mean, parents, you expect at certain time they're gonna, my
Even if
parents
it
were
is-
both in the 80s. Yes, I feel the loss, but I had them all my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I had them for a good part. They lived a good life. My sister, unfortunately, she was only 45. She suffered, and that was not pleasant to see. But she was a sibling. But losing a child, I can't even compare to my other losses.
Right.
And I know that Beth will have a very difficult time, but eventually with time,
It'll.
friends, the same thing. I know they're going to have a difficult time, but eventually they'll look back and we had this great friend, Christopher. He did awesome things. A parent,
Nuts.
I don't know if you have children, but a
I don't
parent,
know.
there's no way you can ever get over it.
Yeah.
You won't get over it. It'll be a new normal, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the only way to look at it.
It's a new normal. That's the only thing I'm looking for. That moment. I don't know when, how far in the distance that I'm gonna say, okay, this is gonna be my new normal from now on. That I could still sort of go through life or enjoy life to a certain degree with my grandchildren, with my other son. But there's gonna be that missing piece.
Always, yeah.
Always.
It's kind of like,
But I'm I was very proud of him. I mean, even more so now that I've heard all the stories.
Yeah, it's kind of cooler, right?
It's like incredible. When we had the receiving at the funeral home, like I said, 90% of the people I didn't even know. So every person that came up to me, I said, tell me your name, how did you know Christopher, and tell me his story.
That's cool.
And the line took so long because of that.
I was like, okay, so what happened was?
But I didn't care. I said, I don't care, people. We're here for 3 hours, so I want to know how this person, and I'm telling
what
you.
motivated them to come to that day.
Like, how did you know my son, and how did you,
like,
tell me a story.
You wouldn't be there if you didn't do something, if you didn't
People
impact
came
their life,
from
right?
like 5 years ago and hadn't seen him for 5 years.
Right.
And were telling me a story about how he impacted their life. So to me, that was like therapeutic, to say the least.
I bet, yeah.
And the fact that, wow, Christopher, how come I didn't know all this?
Yeah, like, oh man, come on.
How come I wasn't a part of this?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess, like you said, it's a career, but it's also like I started as the hobby, and it's kind of just one of those things you just don't really involve your parents in.
No.
So I can absolutely understand that. Like I haven't had any close losses. Like, I'm quite lucky. My father died a few years ago, and I'm from Australia, so the distance was hard. But going back and then hearing stories about him from other parts of his life, from his friends, was very helpful. And like
It is.
I really, in the same way what you're saying, it's not the same, but I relate very much to that. It made me feel like, okay, like, all right, all these people really cared, and like, I didn't know about this. This is crazy guy.
Yeah,
He didn't tell me
I
this
had the
stuff.
same.
So I guess it's even probably more.
It's
seem to have a collective
comforting, but
interest.
also very sad and
super
hurtful
sad.
because
Yeah.
you weren't there. You weren't a part of all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I say
Oh, I
not a
see,
part
yeah.
of it, I mean
Like-
it's comforting. Yeah, he touched so many people, but how come I wasn't as involved in the whole beer thing? I know my husband was.
Right, yeah, 'cause said he
His
moved
dad,
a couple times.
he went. I mean, I also work, not in Montreal, I work in Aruba. So, I mean, going back and forth, I wasn't here as often to do all these things. So I was away also a good part of, the time. So, yeah, and I don't drink beer.
Which seems like a common thread.
So, that was the other thing. I mean, if he was going to share a beer, it was with Dad,
Like, yeah, that's true. I guess he's like, you're not drinking it, what are you going to do?
But I think we sort of prepped him for this. I'll tell you why. My dad used to make his own wine. And Christopher, when he was little, he would help
Right.
his grandfather. He watched. When he got to be 21, we took a few trips to Napa with him. Took him on wine tours, and we enjoyed a lot of good bottles of wine with Christopher. But I think somewhere along the line, he discovered wine takes too long. Okay, before you reap.
Right. Yeah, it could be like literally 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly. So he says, I got to find something that's ready
2 weeks.
in
All right.
2 weeks, and I can enjoy it. So he got into beer making. I can guarantee you his mind worked it out.
It's like it's much, because it sounds like he was an engineer beforehand or whatever, right? Like he was
I'm telling
IT
you.
stuff, so it sounds
Yeah,
about
I mean,
right.
and analytical, and creative at the same time. So I bet you this is how he got into that. He says, I need to find something that I can enjoy in a much shorter time.
Make it at home is cleaner,
That's it.
easier,
That's it.
cheaper. No, I love it. Is there anything that how would you like Chris to be remembered? Like for people who may or may not have known him, like how would you?
I would say I think people are remembering him the way he was. He was very passionate.
Yeah.
He was driven all the time, like I know that. He was very caring. I mean, I didn't hear one story that he ever was like acted superior to anybody, that he knew more. He always wanted to help people. And I think that truly was him. So he was a very caring individual who finally found his passion and made a fantastic beer that his mom likes.
Right. He got there in the end.
You know, and I hope he lives on in his children. I mean, you know, that would be comforting to me.
Yeah.
To see them smile the way he smiles, to make a little joke the way he used to.
Yeah.
You know, to have some of his
sure they will. Yeah, and
mannerisms. You know, that's what you want to see.
Almost
you know?
guaranteed, I guess.
Yeah, you know, and I hope, I don't know, I mean, he didn't believe, but I hope he's somewhere, you know, maybe in a living thing, or his spirit is somewhere all around us and he's watching down.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of usually how it goes.
You know, it's hard to know what to believe these days, you know, but you have to believe what brings you comfort, right?
Whatever works.
Whatever works for you and brings you comfort. To me, you know, if that's what brings me comfort, that's great. If it's for something else, for somebody else, I mean, you know.
No.
I want him to live on. I know he's going to live on in my heart, but, you know.
Yeah, well, clearly through a lot of people.
Yeah.
And through everyone who's maybe whether they know
Well,
it or not.
I don't think it's only the
stuff.
beer. I want him to be not
Oh no,
just
more than that, but it's
you know,
something that's
I know this is like
more
can be
people get in
enjoyed
touch.
and people. Yeah, this is something that can be enjoyed and is a part of him. So yes, it's important.
And he's touching people when they don't even know it.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, that's why something about that's why I like if you think of music and people passing and people listening to that, like you can listen to stuff from people who passed a long time ago, and it still moves people now. And
it'd be nice, you know, like I've seen like going through. Whenever we travel, we always try and pick up beers for Christopher. So we read the labels. Oh, you think Christopher will like this one, you know? Like we always try and find different ones because we travel a lot. It would be nice if ever it gets to that stage that they bottle this or can it or whatever. It'd be nice to have a little story about him on it, so they know where it came from, like how it was created, how the name even came about. You know, something that only they know. You know, like something about him that. So when people read it, oh look, you know. That's how this beer, something like that. I think would be really cool because a lot of companies do that. They put a bit of history of how the name was created or how the beer was developed.
They do that on their cans here as well. So there's definitely.
So it's kind of cool.
It's very cool, and that means more people can try it because it'll be in stores.
It's something to look forward to. It's like your not eternal. What's that? Your morale. What's it called? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I can't think of the word now.
Yeah.
You know, that you live on in a certain way in something, you know, whether it's music, like you said, or a beer in this case.
A beer is what it is. And like, I'm sure like, if you had this, you know, he would be satisfied to be living on through something that he really cared about.
Yeah.
You know, I guess.
I said when I drank the beer, I said he's probably watching me.
Yeah,
and he's saying, well, it's about time.
And this is his beer, by the way.
You know what I mean?
That's Chris's beer.
There you go. Here, cheers. Cheers, Christopher.
And thank you so much. You guys are such a strong family, and I just want to thank you all for taking the time.
Thanks for not making me break down.
No problem. It's just so interesting to talk to you all, and
well, thank you for coming and for actually doing this. I know you were supposed to interview him, but that you actually went ahead and still did something for him.
I felt like it was
I feel very happy.
I'm glad
and grateful. Grateful because it's something I'm going to cherish. So
that's what I kind of thought. I thought it would be something of value, even if it's not to the greater public, like maybe the other stuff, but it's to mean something to you guys and to he's got a lot of friends in the industry who might never have heard these stories before.
That's true.
And now we've had all these people close to him and all kind of like around and been able to tell it, and it'll live on forever digitally. And I want to get some photos from you guys so we can post them on when we share it on the Instagram.
Okay.
So we all got a picture of the
beer.
beer.
We've got tons of them with
group
beer.
Photo, and just a couple of photos would be nice from you guys, so I can make sure when we post it.
No problem.
So just really, let people know that there was a good man.
You need your contact info?
Yes, I'm going to trade that with you guys afterwards. So
I mean, I know that Mike has it, but just for the
I'll
family,
give
for
it to you
us
guys.
to know.
No, please, and then I'll send you everything.
Because I feel like already a connect. You know, it's strange.
it's
Everybody
cool.
I met, like you feel a connection because now you've talked about your son. You try to get the person know who he is. So
and how it all came about. And
yeah,
stuff.
So you do get that connection with people that you never would have met before. You know?
So I mean, something once again beautiful / bittersweet in all of that.
Yeah.
So interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. So that ends the episode in celebration of the life of Christopher Needelman. Once again, thank you to all his friends and family for taking the time to chat with us. You know, it was tough at times, a bit emotional, but it was really interesting to learn about someone as well from my perspective I've never met, and probably for a lot of you guys who never got to meet him, to sort of hear about the life of someone who's impacted so many people. So, is there anything else? Do you want to add anything else? You good? So once again, thank you to Simon and L'Espace Public for having us. Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell, follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast, and check out the long form audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. Thank you. We'll see you in the next episode. Rest in peace, Chris. Cheers.